Hello, America. Michael Flynn has been flipped by the FBI. Donald Trump is feuding with his British counterpart, Theresa May. And Black Lives Matter? Well, they have a special message out there for black people everywhere. You'll find out what it is later. But we begin with Michael Flynn right now.
All you have to do is stay a minute, just take your time. The clock is ticking, so stay. All you have to do is wait a second. Your hands on mine. The clock is ticking, so stay. All you have to do is stay.
A center for everything that is political and American. You're listening to the Garrison Douglas Show.
Hello, America. Welcome to the program. Michael Flynn, former Lieutenant General Michael Flynn and former National Security Advisor to President Donald Trump, has officially been charged with and has pled guilty to giving false testimony to the FBI. He pled guilty without reservation as he appeared in court this morning. But Michael Flynn being charged today isn't the most interesting news surrounding him right now. No, apparently Michael Flynn has been flipped by the FBI and is willing to testify against President Trump and members of the administration and his family. It is being reported by the mainstream media that he will be testifying that he was directed by President Trump himself to make contact with the Russians during the campaign, and was also directed by White House senior advisor and son-in-law to the president, Jared Kushner, to ask Mr. Kislyak, the Russian ambassador, to delay or defeat a United Nations Security Council resolution condemning Israel for its settlement policy, which the Obama administration had decided to let pass. These are without a doubt pretty alarming things to hear. But until we hear it directly from Flynn himself, it means nothing. Now, before the left drops their panties on the ground and starts marching in the streets with celebration and glee, and CNN decides to get drunk on air like it's New Year's Eve, we have to make a couple points clear. First and foremost, Michael Flynn is a liar. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. He is a liar. He lied to President Trump. He lied to Vice President Mike Pence. He lied to the American people. And he was fired for lying. Then, after being fired for lying, he was then interviewed by the FBI, where he lied again under oath. Think about that for a second. We have a man who has spent the better part of this entire year being passed around lying to everyone he can lie to. It's almost like it's in his blood because his son did it too when it came to Pizzagate. There's something about the Flynns where lying is almost like second nature. And I don't know what we can hold against him in regards to all the lies or what was, told to be said and all that type of stuff. But what we do know is that Michael Flynn is willing at any point when it serves him best to lie. That's what we know. And at the end of the day, because of the fact he's so willing to lie, who knows whether anything he says is true? But why lie, Garrison? Why lie about this? It's way too important to lie. I'm sure that's what you're asking to yourself right now. That's what you're thinking to yourself. Which brings me to my second point. Michael Flynn has a few reasons to lie and tell the FBI exactly what they want to hear. And tell the jury exactly what the FBI wants him to tell the jury. First, number one, Michael Flynn is just about flat broke. He's broke, folks, or facing getting ready to go broke. It's been reported that he's actually going to have to sell his own house. He's putting his house up for sale in order to pay back the massive legal fees he's racked up since this whole investigation began. So, getting this investigation out of the way, pleading guilty, and saying what the FBI wants you to say is a pretty good way to stop the legal bills from mounting. Number two, he wants to protect his son. It was reported that the FBI was planning on going after Michael Flynn's son, Michael Flynn Jr., to put pressure on Flynn Sr. to cooperate with the investigation. That was what was reported about a month ago, I believe. If not just a couple weeks ago, but about a month, I believe. So by cooperating, his son gets away with whatever he may have done to catch the FBI's attention. And tell me that there's not a decent father out there that wouldn't do everything in his power to protect his own child, son or daughter. And then tell me that doesn't go the same for Michael Flynn. Tell me he wouldn't do anything to protect his son. You know that they're close. Because when Michael Flynn joined the transition team, he decided to bring his son on board with him. So this isn't some estranged son, and even then, fathers and mothers will go out of their way to protect them. But this is his eldest. This is his namesake son. His close one. They're in the family business together. So by cooperating, he gets his son off. And three, and perhaps, maybe most important of all of them, he gets a pretty sweet deal out of this. Let's just look at what the FBI says he lied about. It says on or about, these are the charges, this is what was in the court filing. On or about December 29, 2016, Flynn did not ask the government of Russia's ambassador to the United States to refrain from escalating the situation in response to sanctions that the United States had imposed against Russia that same day. And Flynn did not recall the Russian ambassador subsequently telling him that Russia had chosen to moderate its response to those sanctions as a result of his requests. And on or about December 22nd, 2016, Flynn did not ask the Russian ambassador to delay the vote on or defeat a pending United Nations Security Council resolution, and that the Russian ambassador subsequently never described to Flynn's Russia response to his request. So what we have here is Michael Flynn lying about some pretty major things. Let's go over the statement of offense. The defendant, Michael T. Flynn, who served as a surrogate and national security advisor for the presidential campaign of Donald J. Trump, as a senior member of President-elect Trump's transition team, and as the national security advisor to President Trump, made materially false statements and omissions during an interview with the Federal Bureau of Investigation on January 24th, 2017 in Washington, D.C. At the time of the interview, the FBI had an open investigation into the government of Russia's efforts to interfere in the 2016 presidential election, including the nature of any links between individuals associated with the campaign and Russia, and whether there was any coordination between the campaign and Russia's efforts. Now, this campaign, of course, is referring to the Donald J. Trump campaign. And we know what he said in regards to the lies. But this is what it says. Flynn also falsely stated that he did not remember a follow-up conversation in which the Russian ambassador stated that Russia had chosen to moderate its response to those sanctions as a result of Flynn's request. In truth and in fact, however, Flynn then and there knew that the following had occurred. On or about December 28, 2016, then President Barack Obama signed Executive Order 13757, which was to take effect the following day. The executive order announced sanctions against Russia in response to that government's sanctions intended to interfere, or that government's actions intended to interfere with the 2016 presidential election. And on or about December 28, 2016, the Russian ambassador contacted Flynn. On or about December 29, 2016, Flynn called a senior official of the presidential transition team, who was with other senior members of the presidential transition team, at the Mar-a-Lago Resort in Palm Beach, Florida, to discuss what, if anything, to communicate to the Russian ambassador about the U.S. sanctions. And on that call, Flynn and the presidential transition team official discussed the U.S. sanctions, including the potential impact of those sanctions on the incoming administration's foreign policy goals. The PTT, which stands for Presidential Transition Team Official, and Flynn also discussed that the members of the Presidential Transition Team at Mar-a-Lago did not want Russia to escalate the situation. Immediately after his phone call with the PTT official, Flynn called the Russian ambassador and requested that Russia not escalate the situation and only respond to the U.S. sanctions in a reciprocal manner. Shortly after his phone call with the Russian ambassador, Flynn spoke with the PTT official to report on the substance of his call with the Russian ambassador, including their discussion of the U.S. sanctions. On or about December 30th, 2016, Russian President Vladimir Putin released a statement indicating that Russia would not take retaliatory measures in response to the U.S. sanctions at that time. On or about December 31st, 2016, the Russian ambassador called Flynn and informed him that Russia had chosen not to retaliate in response to Flynn's request. After his phone call with the Russian ambassador, Flynn spoke with senior members of the presidential transition team about his conversations with the Russian ambassador regarding the U.S. sanctions and Russia's decision not to escalate the situation. So, this is what the statement of offense says. This is what the FBI is saying Flynn lied about. This is what they said he did, and they're saying he lied about doing these things. Or at least lied about not being able to recall he did these things. Regardless of the fact, we know that this admission, because he pled guilty to these charges, that he lied about all of this, which means he's admitting to doing everything that's in the statement of offense. And that's a pretty major crime. He's negotiating with a foreign power against the interests of the United States. That's what he's doing. As a civilian, he is making that decision. We know that that's a major crime, that he will now serve possibly 0 to 6 months in jail for. And why? Because he is doing it in exchange, or they're going to give him this sentencing in exchange for his cooperation. So he commits a massive crime. Massive crime. Could have been going to jail just as long as Paul Manafort. Could have went to jail just as long, if not longer. But instead, will serve possibly 0 to 6 months in jail. And more than likely, if he really lays it in there, more than likely 0. It'll be 0 days and probably a massive fine, which will be a problem considering the fact that he is, I mean, as we know, going broke. So that may be a problem down the road, but at the end of the day, he gets 0 to 6 months in jail for lying to the FBI instead of serving years in federal prison for acting as a foreign agent. Or not acting as a foreign agent, but for illegally negotiating with a foreign government on behalf of the United States. So ultimately, I'm not saying that he's going to lie. I'm not saying what this whole thing about, now the media is reporting that Jared Kushner was that senior official. That's what they're saying. So, I'm not saying he's lying about this. But what I am saying is that it's not going to take much to tear his testimony apart unless he has an actual evidence to support his testimony. Otherwise, without any evidence, it's the White House versus Michael Flynn. And I think, ladies and gentlemen, we already know who wins that battle. We'll be right back.
You're listening to the Garrison Douglas Show.
T-Mobile's Unlimited now includes Netflix on Us. That's right, Netflix on Us. Get 4 unlimited lines for just $40 each, taxes and fees included. And now, Netflix included. So go ahead, binge on Us. Another reason why T-Mobile is America's best unlimited network.
You're listening to the Garrison Douglas Show.
Welcome back to the program, everybody. Folks, you just gotta take just listen to this.
On a tour of the Middle East, forging a post-Brexit role for Britain in the world, this is not what the Prime Minister wanted to be talking about.
The fact that we work together does not mean that we're afraid to say when we think the United States have got it wrong, and to be very clear with them. And I'm very clear that retweeting from Britain First was the wrong thing to do.
Back home in London, the government argues that Britain's ties with America, military, cultural, diplomatic, are what make the special relationship. And this will endure long after the current president has gone.
The Prime Minister will always have regular calls with the President, and she has been explicit in criticising this tweet. And I know that she will always make sure that she calls it out where she sees it, and that is what she's done here.
But a tweet from another minister, who is Muslim, made it clear the president had hit a raw nerve. Donald Trump has upset a lot of people here in Westminster. In theory, he's still invited to London on a state visit that would involve the Queen. In practice, it's very hard to see that visit happening anytime soon. The president has provided a huge publicity boost to a fringe far-right movement, Britain First, which has never come remotely close to success in any form of election here in the UK. Britain First wants to end immigration and ban Islam in the UK. Anti-fascist groups believe it has about 1,000 members. Its deputy leader, Jada Franson, whose tweets were retweeted by the president, is facing charges of using threatening and abusive language. She's thanked the president for retweeting her messages to his more than 43 million followers, saying, "God bless you, Trump. God bless America."
And of course, problems galore. Now, the president, in his usual fashion, responded back to the UK's criticism of him, as well as specifically the Prime Minister Theresa May's criticism of him in a tweet saying, and I quote, Theresa May, don't focus on me. Focus on the destructive radical Islamic terrorism that is taking place within the United Kingdom. We're doing just fine. So, yeah. The president clapped back, clearly, at the British Prime Minister. And I've got to say, he got the best of that exchange. But as you heard in the video, this all began when the president retweeted a video from a radical right-wing Twitter page showing a Muslim individual attacking another person. It sparked outrage in the UK, as you saw, because it was from a page called Britain First. It was from one of their right-wing pages. And they're canceling the visit. That's what's happening. They're canceling his working trip to the UK. Now, let me state unequivocally here, all right? The president was absolutely wrong for retweeting this video to his 43 million followers. He was wrong. Because regardless of the content of the video, regardless of the page, all of those were bad. But he's the president of the United States of America. I cannot stress this enough, folks. He is the president of the United States of America. What comes from his mouth, or in this case, his Twitter page, we're supposed to be able to accept as truth. We're supposed to say that, hey, the president has tweeted this video. This should be something we should be concerned about. But here's a question. Did the president even verify the video's authenticity before hitting retweet? I highly doubt it. I highly doubt that he provided or requested any sort of authentication of the video before retweeting it. Because most people on Twitter, when you see a video that's interesting to you, you hit the retweet button. And even to go further, I highly doubt he did it because Sarah Huckabee Sanders stated this in response.
I think regardless of the video, the threat is very real. The president has talked about the need for strong borders and strong security since the campaign trail. That's not a secret. That's something he's going to continue talking about and continue highlighting in a lot of different venues and avenues.
So, clearly, not someone who was confident in the authenticity of the video. And let's just wait. Let's stay here for a second, okay? Really? Really? The video may not be real, but the threat is very real? Sarah, have you been taking Kellyanne Conway's classes on lying? That was very sneaky of you. The video may not be real, but the threat is very real. Just like the movie Godzilla, that may not be real, but the threat of climate change is very real. Or perhaps this, the checking or the paycheck I get may not be real, but the threat of me going broke, well, that is very real. Let's see here. Is there anything else? Am I missing one more? Let's see here. There's got to be something that I'm missing here. The accusations against Roy Moore may not be real, but the threat of him being elected and assaulting another young lady is very real. How's that? Did I get an A, Kellyanne? Did I get an A, Sarah? Do I get to pass the class? Get out of here. Anyways, the trip has been canceled, all right? And I have to admit, the British are out of their freaking minds for doing this. They're canceling the trip? Who are they, first of all? All right? Despite what you may think about the president, Democrat or Republican, we are Americans, and he is our president. He is the president of the United States. He is the president of the United States of America. He signs your paychecks, Britain. He signs your foreign aid packages. And you're going to cancel his visit? America deserves better respect than this. All right? Without a doubt. I think it was even President Trump who was talking about the disrespect from the world coming from China when President Obama arrived overseas and they wouldn't roll out the red carpet for him. Because at the end of the day, like him or hate him, he's the president and he deserves to be respected by everyone across the world. Because a disrespecting act against the president is a disrespecting act against the American people. We're all in this together. All right? We deserve, as a country, better respect than this from the UK. After all, don't forget Britain. Don't forget London. It was us, America, who opened up a big old can of whoopings on y'all at Yorktown. Never forget. Never forget that. That was us. America. You guys lost that war. Twice. And I'm getting real sick and tired of you guys coming at us like this in such disrespectful ways. First you burned down the White House, now you're coming after President Trump. Unacceptable. Regardless of what the man tweeted from his Twitter account, he's the president and he deserves to be respected better than this. He deserves to be able to enter the country at will. The UK, without a doubt, is wrong for canceling that visit. It is way out of proportion. It is way out of line. And if they insist on maintaining this special relationship that they keep talking about that will be around way after President Trump is gone, well, they better remember that Americans have long memories when it comes to foreigners, of course. If it's us doing it, we tend to forget pretty quickly. Unless you're Hillary Clinton, then you remember everything. But there is no segue for this next topic. So I'm going to use this as a segue. The act of me saying there's no segue will be my segue. Black Lives Matter has announced that we won't be having a white Christmas after all. They've demanded, nay, they have ordered all black people in America shop this Christmas at black-owned establishments only. Don't give a single cent to the white man. Have they lost their ever-living minds? Like, really? Have you lost your mind? I'm not giving up Amazon Prime Christmas deals. Who do you think you are telling me I can't shop on Amazon just because I'm black? It's pretty ironic that it's the black people telling me that I can't shop at white establishments. That reverse psychology, it just gets you. I mean, but seriously, folks, without making any more real jokes about this is becoming a real problem. It was just 50, 60 years ago that it was white individuals who were saying that black folks cannot shop in their businesses. But now it's us saying that we can't shop at white establishments. It's mind-boggling. And during a time, guys, we're getting out of control. This is getting way out of control. Look, I understand about saying we need to be able to prop up black-owned businesses in America. I understand that. Thinking of Black Wall Street. I understand that. Bringing that. That was us shopping in our neighborhoods. I understand that highly. All right? When I was right down the road, there was a black-owned dollar store that I would make an intention of going to. Just because I knew that they were hardworking people. They won a franchise. It was locally owned. And so I wanted to lend them my support, not just as a African American, but as a small business supporter. I wanted to lend my support to these people. And we all do it. Vegans do it. When they see that there's only one restaurant in the entire area that offers a gluten-free option, they'll go there. They can choose to eat at home. They can choose to shop and buy whatever they want. But they're saying, hey, I'm going to make sure that I'm going to go here. All right? Or Joe, down at the end of the street, remember, who owned the mattress store in Houston during the flood, who opened his doors to flood victims, saying, I got all these mattresses, you guys can stay here until things are situated. You're going to go shop at his store, no matter what. Price is high, price is low. It doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, he was there for you. So we all have reasons for why we will shop over one place at another. And I understand that. And I understand to some extent saying I want to, as long as possible, keep some of this money in the community. I get that. All right. Because whether you're white or black, we understand that business, okay? Business is how we create jobs, first of all. It's how you generate wealth. It's how you lift up communities. Both in rural and urban America, we know business is always the solution. And so when we talk about, giving tax breaks to inner city communities so that way they can create businesses, we know what that's designed to do. Sure, technically speaking, it's not only for black businesses, but you're putting it in areas designed specifically for businesses in the inner city, which goes to only black people, essentially. So let's not kid ourselves in regards to shopping black, bolstering African-American owned businesses. Let's not kid ourselves that this is something new. But here's what I will say. During a time such as Christmas, where we're supposed to be thinking about Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior, or my Lord and Savior, thinking about his birth, thinking about all that he has done for me and you and the entire human race, we're talking about race once again. And here's the question. Here's the question I have, because this is a trend that I'm concerned with. Okay, this is a trend I'm concerned with. It was earlier this year, it was in May, that Harvard had a black-only graduation. It was in March where Black Lives Matter had a black-only barbecue. No white people allowed. There's a college in America, I can't remember the name of it, but there was a college where literally it's a self-declared, it was either black-only day or minority-only day. Whatever it was no white people allowed. No white people, students, faculty, whatsoever, were allowed to be on campus. And when one white teacher was in his classroom and refusing to leave campus and says, no, I'm a professor and I'm teaching my class, about 20 students stormed his classroom and forced him to leave. I have never before in my life, up until these past couple years, seen such discipline, seen such aggression, seen such high levels of determinedness, just being determined to segregate yourself. Black-only dorms. And we say it's in the name of maintaining black culture. But it's weird. I can't justify it. I really cannot justify it for the life of me. Why? Why do we need a black-only graduation Why did we need a black-only barbecue? Why did we need a no white people day? Why do we need a Black Christmas where all we do is shop at black businesses? I shopped at that dollar store because at the end of the day, he wasn't going to jip me. He had, that gentleman here, he was African American, but he had quality items for a quality price. And I said, I'm going to come to your store. He was a nice guy. He provided great customer service. But if he was African American and gave me terrible service, had horrible prices, I'm going to bring myself to the Dollar Tree down the road. Because regardless of race, business is business. So I don't know if there's any sort of, I want to bring someone from Black Lives Matter on the program before Christmas, because I want to know what the end game is. Black Christmas. Was going to be Black New Year's? Or let me ask you this. Are we going to say that we don't want white money? Is that what we're going to say now? We don't want white money? We already say we don't want white statues half the time. We don't want Thomas Jefferson statues. We don't want George Washington statues because they have blood on their hands. I don't get it. I don't get this craze of just wanting to segregate ourselves. Now, if someone from Black Lives Matter wants to come on my program, or someone who supports this initiative, and wants to show me information on how black businesses in predominantly white areas die because of the fact that die at a higher rate than white-owned businesses in predominantly white areas because of the fact, and they have evidence that it's because people in the area refuse to go to black-owned businesses because they're black, then I will consider ceding the ground, the moral high ground of not being racist, because it's almost a protection against racism, in a sense. It's a safeguard, which I would be more willing to accept. But until that happens, the stance I have is, guys, we got to get this under control. I can't. I was speaking to my grandmother about all of this, black graduation, black dorms, and I asked her, I said, because mind you, my grandmother, when she was younger, when she wanted to vote, think about that, just think about it, she wanted to vote, was pelted by eggs. My grandmother wanted to go to a regular movie theater like everybody else. Had to carry around a green book to tell her what cafe, what restaurant, what hotel, what movie theater would allow them. Allow her and her friends to be patrons. I asked her, I said, what is your thoughts on this? And without any sort of hesitance, she said it was nonsense. It's nonsensical. My grandmother, my grandparents, Martin Luther King, my great-grandparents, my great-uncles, my great-aunts, they fought every day, whether if it was by marching or just by surviving, But they fought. So that way, I could have the ability to walk into the Walmart down the road without getting chased out by dogs. They marched and died and were beaten so that way I could attend the college I attend and go into the suite, the dorms that I stayed in, with whites and blacks, Hispanics and Asians, without fear of discrimination, because at the end of the day, we were all students paying the same amount of money to get an education. That's what we were doing. That was our purpose. That's what they fought for me to be able to do that. They fought so that way, when the day comes, I can walk across the graduation stage from my college with white, black, Asian, and Hispanic students with a smile on my face saying, Mom, Dad, brother, sister, I did it. I graduated. I got my degree. I can be with my white friends. I can be with my black friends. I can be with my Asian friends. I can be with my Hispanic friends. And we could all sit there together and say, hey guys, we did it. Let's go get some drinks and celebrate. That's what they fought for. And at this very moment, you're saying, no, I don't want any of that. I want black dorms. I want to shop at only black businesses. I don't want to shop in white businesses. No one who's black should. We should have black dorms. We should only go to black businesses. We should only have black graduations. We should have a day or a college, essentially, where only black people can be on campus. It doesn't make sense. And it's getting out of control, and it needs to stop. It needs to stop. I just can't wrap my head around it. My grandmother can't wrap her head around how we can just have such a reversal of policy. Martin Luther King would stand in the street and blow his own brains out if he saw what we're doing today. It's insane. Well, that's all for tonight. I'm shopping at Amazon. And if Black Lives Matter has a problem with that, they can say it to my face. They can tweet at me. Or whatever you want to do. But I'm shopping at Amazon. I'm shopping at Walmart. I'm shopping wherever I can get the best deal for the gifts that I want to give to my friends and my family. And you're not going to stop me. Have a good night. Have a great weekend.
Center for everything that is political and American. You're listening to The Garrison Douglas Show.